was an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Veronica Mars, Season 1, Episode 18, Weapons of Class Destruction. In this episode, bomb threats, yada yada yada, Jonathan Taylor Thomas is here, yada yada yada. They kissed, and I don't know what's happening. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha. This episode is brought to you by Agnes and Rachel. Thank you very much to both of you. I wasn't able to watch this another time, Agnes, I'm afraid, because I misjudged when this episode was going to be recorded. So I have only watched it that one time that is on film for all of you to see. Which, guys, seriously, I keep getting messages from people who are just like, you were not looking at the screen, and we were all losing our minds. And apparently I looked at the screen at the exact right moment, thank God. So I didn't miss the whole thing. Can you imagine if I missed it and then you guys had to make me rewind? Like, oh my God, it would have been terrible. I'd have been rewinding and watching it happen in reverse and getting like weirdly spoiled in reverse. Agnes is quoting me saying, wait, which is, that sounds right. That sounds like something that I would say. Because honestly, it happened so suddenly that I was just like, did I miss something? Wait. So yeah, there's a lot to cover here. The opening is Veronica with her cop boyfriend, whom her father doesn't entirely approve of. He's trying to be cool about it, but like, you know. And then it turns out that he is trying to be cool because it turns out he's seeing somebody. And he doesn't want to say anything, he didn't want to say anything until he was sure that he really had feelings for this person. And then he blurts out, because Alicia and it turns out that it's Wallace's mom. Guys, there are so many little shocks in this episode that I kept thinking I had gotten to the reason that y'all wanted me to watch this. This right there, I really did think initially that was the thing. Because that is shocking. He's dating his mom this whole time. I had no idea, and I had said something like I felt like there was something going on with him that we weren't seeing. But dating wasn't really the thing that I had in mind. I don't know what I thought he was doing. And not only that, but like, Veronica is so sure still that her mother is going to be coming home after she gets out of rehab, which I'm like, girl, straight up, how do you think that's going to work? Really, honestly, how do you think that she's going to just be able to swagger back into your life like nothing happened and your dad's going to like be okay with that? But she's not thinking rationally. She's just thinking that she wants her family back together. Which, like, your mom was cheating on your dad. I don't know if that shit even ended that far. Like, they were still meeting up and talking. So, apparently, they've been seeing each other. You can't want your dad to get back into that, right? You can't want him to become involved with her again when she was cheating on him so recently. And maybe, and we're still not sure on this yet, but maybe her cheating is what got you into this position where you're worried for your life. Veronica, girl, think this through. Like, and I'm not criticizing the writing here. Like, this is just a blind spot that people have when it comes to their families, that they don't think things through because all they can think about is how things used to be and wanting to get back to a place that you can't get back to. When they say you can't go home again, that's what they mean. They don't mean you can't literally drive up to your house again. They mean you can't go back in time to your childhood and relive that shit. It's over. And all of the good memories that Veronica has, probably, if she really thought it through, would be tainted by the idea that her mother was seeing somebody else the whole time. So it's just really hard to watch her, like, kind of sabotaging things with her dad. Well, she's not sabotaging it, but she's like telling Wallace and thinking that Wallace is going to tell her dad. And I mean, honestly, she shouldn't be saying anything to anybody if she doesn't want it to get out. But also, I really sympathize with Wallace's impulse to tell his mom. Of course you'd want to tell your mom. She's getting really into this, and she's saying to Wallace how important it is to her and how she hasn't been this happy in such a long time and yada, yada, yada. Like, this is prime real estate for Heartbreak City. Like, of course you want to warn your parent not to get too attached. But the thing is, as Wallace can see, it's too late to tell them not to get too attached. She's very attached. That ship has sailed on to the Heartbreak Sea. So I just wish that Veronica could, like, because it's weird that I when I think about it, if it weren't for her mother being in the picture again, and it just seemed like her mother had taken off and was to be gone forever, I'm not sure Veronica would have that big a problem with this pairing, really. I feel like Wallace has a bigger problem with it than Veronica does. And I kind of sympathize with Wallace on that in some ways, just because Veronica has not treated Wallace super great. I feel about Veronica in some ways the way that I feel about Rose as I'm watching Doctor Who and Mickey, where I just feel like Rose was so shitty and dismissive towards Mickey that, like, I could not forgive her for that for a couple episodes. And that comes back around to roost, as it turns out. But it was really hard to watch at the time because the show treated it like she was just some, you know, like going off on some adventure and who cares about this guy, am I right? And Wallace is often treated by the show as just a means to getting information. And we rarely see him in any scene that has to do with his own story and not with him doing something for Veronica. So in that respect, I kind of feel like Wallace has more of a right to be upset than Veronica does, because Alicia, it seems like an intelligent woman who has got her shit together to, you know, to the point that one can tell. So I feel like in many ways, Keith is doing pretty well for himself, actually, getting this chick. So anyway, so this reveal was pretty funny. And I love when he tries to be like to his mom when he's told while he's brushing his teeth. He's like, wait, who? And she's like, from your reaction, you heard me just fine. And I was like, Mom, geez. But yeah, him and Veronica are sitting across from each other at school and they aren't talking, and it's just the most hilarious. Like, on the bright side, if our parents get hitched, we can have bunk beds and stay up all night talking. I always wanted a little brother I could dress up like a doll. Oh my God. She's treating this like too much of a joke, but he's actually upset. So bless his heart. So let's talk about what happens with Duncan. Yo, Duncan is mad. Which it turned like it does. We don't find this out until later exactly like how that all happened. But he acts really weird around her, right? Is this the one where oh no, this is when he comes up to her in the hallway and they're cool again. Lots of bake sales. They have the new journalism teacher in this scene. This teacher puts up with so much shit from the principal. She winds up getting fired, guys. Does she have a lawsuit? Could she? I don't know exactly how that stuff works, but I feel like she might not have. I know tenure is a thing with professors. Is that a thing in high schools as well? I think it is, right? But she clearly does not have that. This is a pretty young teacher. She is giving them all kind of fluffy assignments for journalism class. And it's, she's doing her like usual, like, come on, buckaroos. Like she's trying, and it turns out that she was the leader of the pep squad, which like, I don't know exactly how she got placed where she did. If it was just like, we just need a warm body to be in the room with the kids at this point, so let's put her here. But it doesn't seem at this point like she's well suited to this job. We find out later, though, that she kind of is, except by well-suited, I mean, willing to take risks that could lose her job, which frankly is what journalists should be willing to do. This is why I am not a journalist. I don't have the spirit for it. Like, there is a certain amount of, you have to be okay with being really pushy. You have to be okay with, like, embarrassing people. And you have to be okay with potential death threats and, like, people following you and you accidentally stepping into a hornet's nest without meaning to at all. And it's just such a unappreciated position in a lot of ways, because obviously not everybody is going to function in that capacity with ethics. So it's easy to abuse that. And so I feel like journalists get kind of a shit reputation, but I feel like they deserve more respect than they get a lot of the time. Joey Lauren Adams, says Jamie. Is that her name? Okay. She's the one that I always think of as Discount Jennifer Tilly. I have all kinds of like discount versions of different, like, Rachel Weisz's Discount, Kate Winslet, things like this. But yeah, she has that really girlish face and that high-pitched voice and that sort of like perkiness to her that is like really belies a sharp mind, actually. And Duncan saying, what about OxyContin replacing ecstasy as a drug of choice for students? And she says, your parents don't want to read about drugs at the school where they send their precious little ones. And I'm like, precious little ones. These are, you know, teenage kids at this point. And when Veronica points out, like, I thought this was a paper for the students, she says, like, well, where's your pirate pride? There's a teacher here who's been teaching French for 40 years. Maybe somebody could do an in-depth profile. To which Logan says, a loving tribute to a sadistic crone, which made me fucking cackle, y'all. Cackle! Sadistic crone. There are so many ways that could be phrased. Sadistic crone. That's the one. I don't know how many they went through before they settled on that, but they did right. The janitors work so hard and no one pays attention. We could do something on them. And, you know, honestly, that's the kind of thing that sounds really boring on the surface, but if you went and prodded it a little, actually might be interesting. But the way that she presents it all does seem like excruciating. And they're in the middle of this when there is a fire drill. And Duncan says this is the third one this week. And that immediately for me, like, I don't know how many times you guys had fire drills when you were in school, but I think I had them twice a year. And, yeah, it was always such a drag too. It was the sort of thing that, like, you would think it would be nice to break up the school day, but it always tended to happen during a class that you actually wanted to be in, a class you were, like, bummed that was getting cut short, or you'd be sent outside and forced to mingle with a group that was, like, the very class that you didn't get along with. That's the other one. It's, like, a bunch of people that you don't really like. So Veronica decides to look into this, and she goes and talks to the principal, who coolly tells her that this is just policy, and that they have fallen a bit behind, so they're having to do a bunch of them back to back because they haven't reached, like, the quota that they're supposed to yet. But when Veronica goes and calls the superintendent, I think it is, she finds out that the mandate is actually just one and realizes that some shit is up. So she goes and calls the principal and pretends to be that woman and asks him what the hell some student has been calling me, being very pushy. She had a very fresh attitude. She gave me the impression that you've been exceeding fire drill limits. And he tells her, I've been trying to keep this under my hat, but we've had a series of bomb threats. As a precautionary measure, I brought in the bomb squad. So those are the dogs that she saw walking past. And she puts this up on the front page, which of course gets her in some trouble because this is not shit that people are supposed to know. And it also gets Miss Stafford in trouble because she is supposed to be guiding them towards doing the safe, responsible thing. And this is the actual responsible thing, but he doesn't see it that way. So I really had some sympathy for her, and I admired the hell out of the fact that she's like, go ahead, go on and do that shit again, girl. Like, she doesn't even think twice about whether or not Veronica should pursue this story. She's 100% about it. You know what? Tenacity. That's the shit. Jamie's saying she's chasing Amy in Dazed and Confused, which I have seen neither of. And Nancy says, God damn it, this is the problem with work. Boss just came in and wanted to chat about a new issue to research. I'm sorry, Nancy. Big Daddy also, says Rachel. Did not see that either. And Mallrats. Oh, I did see that, 15 years ago now. Longer, actually. But, yeah, all right. So, Big Daddy, I don't even remember what that is. So, yeah, when she says, well, this is the story, and he says that's not the issue, our very real duty to protect the student body trumps your non-existent right to a free student press. And when Miss Stafford pushes it and says, isn't a journalist's duty supposed to be? And he interrupts with, what exactly is your journalism background, Miss Stafford? And she has to say, I was on my high school yearbook staff, which is obviously probably would have been better to just not answer that question at all. So yeah, he just kind of humiliates her, and it was just really gross to watch the way that he treated her, and finding out that she winds up fired later just really bothered the shit out of me. And I want there to be some justice here, but it does not end fairly for her, just the way it doesn't end fairly for our homie in the last episode either. So yeah, this is Veronica saying, so where are the threats coming from? A student pushing the issue, and the principal just being like, this is nonsense. I'm not going to continue talking about this with you. You need to use better judgment in the future. So then we go to I think it's an English class, and there is the reveal. There is the reveal that there is a fucking relic from Bop magazine sitting in the fucking front row of class. This kid is... I thought maybe I'd wait for the miniseries. Obviously a troublemaker, a pain in the ass. He's doodling furiously, like black flames and shit. In the end, we all wind up in the same place, 6 feet under. And he turns and gives his friend a look, and it's just this whole oh God, all right, posturing type thing. And of course, I'm like, what's going on with this kid? Because that's fucking Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Can I tell you all how disappointed I was that there was no scene with him and Brad? It was right there. I wanted it so bad. It was right there. Oh, it would have been everything. How weird. And if they could have lampshaded it somehow. But yeah, it was this whole thing immediately, of course my antennae are going up, but I had no idea what was going on. So once that gets revealed, which I will get to in a moment, if anything, at first I was even more confused. So the next scene is Veronica and Wallace, and her dad and Wallace's mom are sitting on the couch watching a movie. And he's like, well, your dad's not groping her or anything, is he? And she says, well, no, but I did see him cutting a hole in the bottom of his popcorn bucket, which fucking killed me. That should not be that funny, but it really was. I think it's because of who Veronica is saying it and how irritated she is. But yeah, Wallace is just obviously so concerned about this. And once Veronica tells him that her mom is going to be back, he goes out there and like rains all over their parade and makes them split up and his mom head home. And it's just really one of those like those painful moments of reversal where the child acts like the parent, and it's very obvious while it's happening, but also the parent has to take it in a way in order to humor them. The whole thing is just really like, it's painful to watch, especially knowing that in many ways they really do seem to go well together. And Wallace, if he could just be cool about it, might be happy for his mom, you know, if it were anybody other than Veronica. Like, I don't know, man. I really feel for Wallace in this. Veronica, I'm too irritated with to like have all that much sympathy. And plus she seems to be taking it well compared to Wallace anyway. But Wallace is just in such a garbage position here. So Veronica goes into the computer lab and runs into a couple of people arguing about operating systems. And this dude here who plays Pete, he also plays the head of the Fellowship of the Sun in True Blood, which is like basically a hate group. And he is such a fucking creep in that, and such a bad egg. Oh my God. He's a pastor with like that kind of puritanical, like manic light in his eyes, and is totally fine with like murdering people and whatnot. And as soon as I saw him, and this is the problem with character actors, as soon as I saw him, I was like, that's the guy. That's the guy. And it turns out I was not right at all. He isn't the guy. Because when I say that's the guy, I'm like, that's the guy who wants to blow up the school. No, he's just the guy who's calling in the threats and then trying to get this dude in trouble. But he's not actually trying to blow up the school himself, which is 100% what I was predicting. Like, I thought that he was using the other dude to like get to weapons and information, but that it was definitely his whole motivation was to get revenge on people, because obviously he's a nerdy type and you know, has the wherewithal to like create a website and all of that stuff. So that was really what led me to this. But what his actual motivation is completely eluded me. And it turns out all he's trying to do is set up a kid who bullied the shit out of him. And it's such a shame, because I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm sure all y'all won't mind. Veronica decides that she's going to try and get close to this kid. First of all, she suspects Ben and thinks that he's the one. And when she follows Ben, it turns out, surprise, surprise, that he is a federal agent. I want to talk about that scene in more depth shortly. Don't get me wrong. But when she starts getting closer to the other kid, that kid is such a goofball charmer in his like really nerdy, uncomfortable way that I found myself being like, oh my God, maybe they'd be so cute together, maybe. And then you find out that he was like this brutal bully, and he stood up for her because he like has a crush on her, but he's like a Snape, right? Where he's like gonna shield the one person that he gives a shit about, and otherwise everybody can just go screw. So that's a shame, because I really like had a little bit of a flare of hope that could be something, but no, maybe he's just a garbage person who like traumatized this poor kid. He sent the kid to the hospital. Like, yeah, taking lunch money is obviously legit bullying, and I'm not trying to minimize that at all. Like, that sort of shit comes with a daily like psychic toll. But it became physical, where the kid tried to fight back and he was put in the hospital. Like, no, you cannot forgive that. Right? Like, I couldn't, if I was him either. Nah. And that's the kind of thing, like, when I was in college, my laptop was stolen, my new laptop. And I was heartbroken because my family had to scrape to buy the damn thing in the first place. And then it was gone. And it was like 2 weeks. And my laptop was recovered. It was stolen by somebody I had gone to high school with, who I knew and had considered, like, I was friendly with. And it turns out that he had stolen a lot of stuff from a lot of people. And this dude tried to friend me on Facebook. I think Facebook. It might have been MySpace. It was so long ago. And he added me, and I posted on his wall, "You steal my shit and you really think we're just going to be friends?" And he, like, DM'd me and was like, "Well, I've changed and I don't do that shit anymore. And I can't believe you'd be so rude to put it out there like that." And I'm like, you never apologized to me. You don't get a pass just because it's in the past. You have to confront the fact that you did that shit, and you don't just get to walk away and act like nothing ever happened. And Rachel's saying, "I didn't see him that way. I saw him more as a kid who did shitty things when he was younger, but didn't do that stuff anymore. Not that it makes it okay that he did those things, but he didn't seem like he was still doing it." That's the question, though, isn't it, Rachel? Because Veronica says, "I saw a guy who bullied plenty of people, but then he goes up and stands up for somebody." So it seems like I don't know if he really stopped or what. Like, people do grow at us, but like I said, if he doesn't go to this kid and apologize and, like, acknowledge what he did, I see not forgiving him. I really do. And even if you do apologize, apologies don't wipe out what happened, you know? So whether or not you do apologize, a person is not obligated to forgive you either way. So yeah, it's like, yeah, it's just a weird, murky area that it turns out this kid is setting him up. And the sad thing is that he's setting him up. I'm not exactly sure that the kid setting him up is even totally, like, intending for things to go as far as they do. But the fact that he starts setting the kid up and then the federal agent takes it and finishes the setup is just so fucked up. These are two totally different people who are working completely independent of one another and have decided that they are going to take this kid down, whether he's doing it or not. One can say that the federal agent was setting him up because he was so sure it was this kid that he just wanted to end it. But that's still garbage. Like, he doesn't know. He's just wanting to close a case, and he has more arrests than anybody his age, probably because he set up so many people. So, yeah, the whole thing is just like a snarl of, like, intentions and motivations and weirdness that I actually really like. I like this subplot a lot. All right, so now we get to the part where Duncan's mad at Veronica. Yo, hi, hello, my name is Natasha, and I'm here to talk to you about privacy and being a shitty friend. Veronica is a good example of what not to do, which is go rifling through your friend's personal history and making files about them and then telling their good friends about it, even though they did not ask you, and you should not be sharing it. Yo, Duncan is 100% right. And the scene where he blows up at her was really satisfying to me, because I said it when it happened. That is borderline unforgivable, what she did. And he doesn't even know about all of it yet. He knows that she, like, somehow found out about his condition, but he doesn't know that she fucking put a bug in the therapist's office, which, if he knew that's how she had gone about it, I feel like would push him right over the edge. Like, that's extra terrible. But here, he's just, like, refusing to make eye contact, refusing to look at her, just being really weird and stone-faced. And she doesn't yet know what the hell the problem is. But when she's talking to Meg, she's telling Meg about a case where somebody took off, and the best way to do that is to have cash and get fake IDs and all of this stuff. So she inadvertently feeds him all of the information that he needs to know if he wants to disappear, which of course it's not even like entered her head that he would ever want to do that at this point. Why would it? So yeah, he winds up just getting up and leaving really quickly at one point, and leaving Meg behind, and she has to kind of chase after him. And I'm not even totally sure that she knows what's going on, because I don't think he told Meg about his condition. So Meg is as much in the dark as Veronica, and it's just kind of like, wow, what's your deal? So Veronica goes to the computer lab where he's at, or it's the journalism room, I think, and confronts him about it. And he tells her that Logan told him everything, that you have files on everybody on your computer, and asks what his says. And she says that it says that you have, I think, type 4 epilepsy, and that it can cause mood swings and outbursts and violent reactions to things. And the way that he approaches talking to her about it is like, honestly, he tries so hard to keep his cool and does an admirable job right up till a point. You've been prying into my private life. If I wanted anyone else to know about that, I would have told them. Who the hell do you think you are? I am Lily's best friend. Lily is dead. Her killer is in jail. And she says that he was paid to confess. She doesn't give him all of the information. So, of course, to him, it sounds nuts. It sounds like that, like she's just kind of grasping at straws, right? And he goes, who the fuck would pay him? And then he stops and turns around and realizes what she's saying. You think someone in my family paid him to protect me? And then she says, do you remember what happened that day? And as soon as she said it, I was like, oh, shit. No, you did not just ask that boy if he killed his sister right there in the fucking classroom. What? Veronica, girl, what are you doing though? Oh my God. It's awful. Like, honestly, all she's doing right now is she's trying to take advantage of the fact that he's even talking to her about this, because I think she's afraid that he's so angry at her that he'll refuse to engage in a conversation at all later. So she's just striking while the iron is hot, so to speak. She's trying to get her question in while he's still speaking to her. But what she says, what do you remember, obviously implies that she thinks he could have killed his sister and just forgot it, or maybe just like pushed it out of his head, like purposely forgot it. And when he turns around and says, you think I killed Lily, he gets so, this rage that he has is really good. This is some good acting right here. How could you think that even for a second? And she says, calm down. And he says, why? You think I'm going to have another episode and kill you too? And really like screams it at her. And he backs up and sort of looks at her the way that he says that, like, kill you too, and shakes his head and runs off. And it's a really worrying moment, because you could take that a lot of ways. You could take it like he's saying kill you too, like he's kind of admitting he did it, which I 100% do not think is what happened. You could think that like he is saying kill you too, like he's realizing maybe he's threatening her and that he's like kind of out of control. There's a lot going on in his face at that moment, but I honestly don't think any of it is undeserved. She's prying into his shit and then accusing him of murder with nary a scrap of evidence to pin it on, really. There's nothing but the fact that he has epilepsy. And the fact that that's enough to to make her so confident that she would like question him in this way is super ableist of her. Like, just because somebody has a neurological or mental problem does not mean that they're a fucking murderer. Like, just irritated the hell out of me. So yeah, I'm just, I really side with Duncan on this. The fact that he ran away the way he did, I don't know what to make of that. But like, Anya says also the soccer uniform in the laundry. Yeah, but again, like that's really circumstantial. Super, super, super flimsy. So I don't give that any credence at all. You know, like if there were something more to pin there, but like the soccer uniform could belong to any, they don't even say it was his soccer uniform. He just says to her when he's talking about it, Keith, he says a soccer uniform. You know, like who knows? But yeah, the fact that like the fact that she would question him like this after they were so chummy in the beginning of this episode, like has to feel like the biggest betrayal. They were just getting back on like being on terms of being cool with each other. They were just finally beginning to just at least be friends again. And they obviously care about each other and enjoy each other's company enough that it was important to both of them to be friends again. So the fact that she could think something like this of him, I mean, don't get me wrong. I firmly believe that anybody is capable of anything. That you can say as much as you want, I would never be able to kill a person. Bullshit. Everybody is able to kill a person if the right thing is being threatened. I firmly believe that it's within the capacity of a lot of people. And I don't even mean a lot. I mean pretty much everybody. Maybe there's a rare person here and there who couldn't do it, but mostly I think everybody could. So being accused of murder in itself is not the thing. It's that she's accusing him of killing his sister. And of, like, I guess, covering it up this entire fucking time and letting somebody else go to jail in his place. Like, the whole shebang that she's accusing him of is so ugly and underhanded that, like, yeah, he has every right to be as disgusted as he is with her. All right, so that scene, I just really liked that scene. That was a good one. So then we see her following the kid, so she thinks, Ben, who's buying a bunch of bags of fertilizer and has this huge, like, I don't know if that's a semi-automatic or an automatic rifle, but yeah, she is in the middle of watching this when Logan calls her and tells her, oh, heads up, Duncan knows about your files. And I'm like, dude, a little late, but thanks. And he says, what was I supposed to do? He's my best friend. Of course I had to tell him. And she says, well, he took my head off. You would have loved it. Have you talked to him since school let out? And as she's saying this, the fucking door opens and this dude gets into her car and says, let's go for a ride. And he's got a gun. And of course, at this moment, you have no idea who he is. So you just think that this is some crazy student who's like taking her hostage. She brilliantly does not press stop, like the end call button on her phone. This is the sort of shit that I admire so much. And I just want you all to know right now, if I ever am like kidnapped or attacked and I manage to get out of it, you don't know how high on myself I am going to be, because I have a tendency to like go completely blank when real shit is happening. I can be incredibly clear-headed and methodical when the, quote, emergency is a really busy night at a restaurant, and I can just, like, clip here and there. But you talk about a real emergency, and my brain just fucking flatlines. So the idea that she, like, has the presence of mind to leave her phone on because that will help him hear where she's going, thank God somebody has a brain here, because I would not have done that. I would have just been like, oh my God, click, and then have been like, why did I just do that? I'm such an idiot. But yeah, it's like, where are we going? And he's like, well, I think you followed me there. And when she says the Camelot, he nods and says, you're a pesky one. You're screwing everything up. And I'm just like, oh God, what the fuck? Throughout this whole thing, was like convinced that Jonathan Taylor Thomas had some really weird plastic surgery because his face looked so strange to me. But I was talking about it with Jamie, I think yesterday, and I think that maybe she's right and he hasn't had plastic surgery. He just has a weird face. some people just grow up into weird faces. And boys more so than women a lot of the time, because they have a much bigger change to go through because of the way testosterone like changes your features. So estrogen keeps your features looking much more like youthful. And testosterone widens your jaw and changes the whole shape of your nose and everything. So it's a much more dramatic change a lot of times with boys than it is with girls. But I could not stop looking at his face throughout this whole episode and going, what is happening there? So yeah, he drags her up the stairs and around the corner. And just as they round the corner, fucking Logan decks him in the face and then crouches over him and punches him 2 more times. And it is the best thing I've ever seen. I swear to God, I could not stop laughing watching this scene. Oh my God, it was so good. So fucking great. Like, there's so much about it that's so great too. Like, where to start? First of all, the fact that Logan, like, obviously peeled the fuck over there because he got there before them. Secondly, the fact that he did it in the first place, that he immediately came to her rescue. Thirdly, that he decks the guy and knocks him fucking down. Like, this isn't just a like, oh, I'm gonna wrestle you and you better stop it, you. No, he turns around and pops him and the guy fucking hits the ground. And Logan could have just grabbed her and taken off and been like, you're okay now. No, he gets up on top of this dude and keeps on punching him. He's just like, no, you're not getting up again and you're not gonna fuck with this chick again either because you better know that I will be there. And it's so satisfying. It's so great. It's so great. And seeing the agent sitting on his bed, nursing his wounds that he got from this fucking high school student is the most satisfying / humiliating thing in the world. So yeah, it turns out that this dude is investigating the bomb threats. Can we talk really quickly about the fact that Jonathan Taylor Thomas needs a haircut so bad in this episode? It's incredibly distracting. Oh God, he just needs to cut it off. He's got like this weird like midway mullet thing happening. It's awful. So yeah, he tells them and he's like explaining to Veronica, because at first he starts to talk and Logan's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not going to leave you alone with her. So you can just get the fuck out of here with that. But then he agrees to leave as long as he can stand right outside the door and if she doesn't close the hotel door all the way. So I appreciate that. And yeah, he has been seeing internet traffic that points to somebody who is searching for terms that are alarming and that usually indicate some bad shit is about to happen. And he is posing as a high school student in order to catch this kid. Now, I'm going to say it again, what I said when I was watching this live, which is I enjoy JTT in a fucking shoulder holster, but his face is still so distracting. But I gotta say, shoulder holsters are like, to me, what I think garter belts are like to men, where it's just like, even if you don't look that good in it, you still look pretty good in it, kind of thing, you know, like, no, yeah, keep doing that. I just love them. There's just, you know, that like, yeah, just, I'm all about it. And yeah, I've got more arrests on my record than any ATF agent my age ever. Failure is not an option. And we find out that he is dead serious about that. He will frame somebody if he has to. I either need evidence that he's hoarding banned weapons, or I need to get my hands on the list of names of people he's been corresponding with. And he wants Veronica to get close to this kid in order to get this information. So, she agrees to help him out, and she goes outside, and she's walking away, and she goes up to Logan, and he says, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Mm-hmm." And then he stands there and looks at her, and she kisses him, and he stares at her for a second, and she starts to walk away, and then he grabs her, and he straight up serious kisses her. What? Veronica? Girl, what you doing? What you doing, though? Veronica? Lady? She was just making out with this other dude at the beginning of this episode. I don't like him. I like Logan more. I really support her choice here. But she needs to deal with that. Secondly, this moment that she chooses to kiss him, it has to be because he punched the fuck out of this guy, right? Because I'm saying, Jamie says, and we know how much you love it when dudes punch people. Jamie is correct. Men getting in fights is my aesthetic. I love it. And if a dude punched out another dude for me, you better believe that he is going to be getting laid. Like, that's just going to happen. Unless it's a completely unreasonable situation. But, like, even if it is, let me be honest, like, maybe still. And I can't help but feel like the moment when she comes and kisses him, it's this moment of just, like, I really, really want to say thank you in, like, a way that you really understand. But I'm just going to be cool about it, okay? Just this 1 second. And it's sort of a moment of him being like, wait, oh, okay. And the way that he grabs her as she's about to walk away, I just love that. Because she looks at him after she gives him that one brief kiss, like she's not sure. And then thinks, fuck, all right, never mind. I don't know why I just did that. And starts to walk away. Like, it's a test, right? It's a test to see how he reacts and a test to see, do you really like me that much that you came and punched out a federal agent from my ass, even though you didn't know who he was? And just that kiss, it goes on a minute, and I just really like the two of them together. I like her and Duncan together too, but I also think her and Duncan might be related. So we're just going to shelve that one. And honestly, in many ways, Logan is a little bit better for her than Duncan is. Well, this is debatable, but this is the sort of thing where you have to wonder about, like, the dynamic of people together in relationships. Where Duncan was, like, the good, the lawful good sort of type. And she's, I don't want to say chaotic good. She's more like neutral good. And Logan does not know yet where he sits on that. And I feel like his snark and attitude could very much be used for good. But he has not had anywhere to direct that shit. Because he has had a terrible home life and a girlfriend who was murdered. And a lot of his friends seem to be garbage. And the whole thing is just really, like, messy. So I feel like he has the potential to be a kind of chaotic good, but he's not now. And so that, like, makes me go, oh God, am I wanting Veronica to, like, save him? I don't want to be putting that on her, you know, like, that's not the thing. But also, Logan is the kind of guy who has a lot of potential and nobody in his life that seems to give a shit about it. Like, they all just, you know, well, he's got money. He's not going to die of starvation. He'll be fine. And it's not enough. You know, somebody with those kinds of brains, it should not go to waste. So, yeah, he kisses her for a minute and then they, like, pull away from each other and she turns and, like, runs off and he stands there watching her in his fucking Poe Dameron jacket and she doesn't, like, know how to react to any of this. And when she sees him at school the next day, they just sort of look at each other and it's just really weird and there's no real, like, they look at each other and they, like, smile, but there's no conversation had about any of it. And I just don't know how she's going to cope with this because this is going to be so messy if she doesn't, like, get out in front of it. I just, you know what I mean? Like, if she doesn't, like, figure out from the start what's going on and decide where she wants to go with this, Duncan's going to find out that they kissed and going to be really weird about it, probably. And, I mean, he's mad at her. Well, Duncan ran away, so, yeah. But let's pretend Duncan didn't run away. It's a combination of him still being mad at her, him still kind of having feelings for her, which I definitely believe is still there, him feeling betrayed by his friend, who is now making out with this girl whom he used to date, and whom reported his, like, medical records, and there's like so many little layers of like betrayal and sort of, I don't want to say shadiness really, but shadiness is the best I can come up with, that I feel that he is a potential, this really could go really badly. And also, I don't know what the social implications are, you know, like, how is Logan viewed by the rest of the school at this point? He's part of the popular crew, right? So it could only help Veronica's standing, I would think, if she goes out with him, like, in view of the rest of the school? I don't know. But I do think about that sort of thing, because I want Veronica's life to be easier in a lot of ways. But, God, geez. And I also, like, have this weird suspicion that Logan's dad is the killer, even though that's really only because Logan's dad is garbage and a monster, and I want him to be guilty of murder so that he can just be put away. So that's that scene, and I lost my goddamn shit. And if you guys want to see that, you can go to Facebook Live and watch it, where I am looking at the screen of the computer, all trying to, like, read the comments that people have left, up until the very moment when he grabs and kisses her, and I turned around and that's happening. And I'm just like, wait, what's happening? I lost my mind, you guys. I can't even tell you. So enjoy that. So then we have her getting close to Norris, played by Theo Rossi, aka Juice from Sons of Anarchy, aka Shades from Luke Cage. And he, it turns out, has been set up by this ATF officer. They all jump him, they pile him into a van, arrest him. He opens the trunk of the car, and the shit that Veronica witnessed him purchasing is all in there. So yeah, this looks really bad for this kid, but thankfully Veronica is a huge snoop. And she took photos of him buying all of that stuff when she still thought he was a student, and has proof that he planted all of it. Now, here's the thing. We all know what this world is really like, right? Most of us have started to have our eyes opened to the way that law enforcement functions. I really believe that now that I've learned, Veronica can pull out all the photos that she wants of this man buying this exact brand of fertilizer, and that dude would still be arrested and in jail. There is simply no standard of conduct anymore. And I say anymore, I mean that now I know that there's no standard of conduct. And you can plant shit, and you can be caught on camera doing it, and you are not going to get fired. The person that you framed is not necessarily going to get released. And the law is mostly garbage, set up to protect the rich and powerful and take down people who have no defense in order to make the rest look good. So, while I respect that the show is writing it this way because we want to have some justice in the world, this is not how it would happen, and that kid's life would be ruined forever. The end. Period. End of sentence. So, yeah. But she does wind up getting him out, and she figures out who the kid is that set this whole thing up. And it turns out that it's Pete. And he talks about how every day he would take his lunch money, and his father told him to stand up to the kid, and he finally did. And he gets put in the hospital in response after he punches him. Pete punches Norris, and Norris winds up putting Pete in the hospital. And he says, "Do you know what my father said to me then?" He said, "I wish I had a son." And I was just like, well, that's fucking depressing. I don't understand parents. Like, really, there are so many people out there that I'm just like, what is the fucking matter with you? Like, what even is your... But he tells Veronica this. He said, "I wish I had a son." And then Veronica just hangs up, which I have to say, questionable form. I understand the way that, like, shows function with this sort of thing, but that is some shit that I find so annoying on every show I watch. If somebody just hangs up without actually saying goodbye, it's just the epitome of rudeness to me. But yeah, so that was a really sad story, but also, like, he's trying to set up this kid to, like, go to prison forever, which, you know, is it out of proportion? Maybe. Nancy's saying Norris is white and middle class, so maybe. Norris is not white. I'm not sure if he's Hispanic or if he's, like, mixed race, but he's definitely not white. And I feel like that would be emphasized a lot by whoever is prosecuting him. Of course, very subtly. They make him look pretty white in this show, but I don't think he is. But anyway, okay, so then we have her with this information, knowing who did it, and knowing that the guy was set up, and she's questioning whether or not she should even publish it. And her teacher tells her that this is our job, and yeah, go ahead and do it. And I really, again, respected the shit out of her for that. She's putting it all on the line here, you know, for a school newspaper. But yeah, I guess we have no choice but to print it too, do we? So yeah, this is cool. I like her. But she is no longer to be. And then Veronica finds out that Duncan took off, and Meg is freaking out. She has no idea where he is, what could have happened to him. And, you know, he took out like $10,000 in cash, something like this. And it looks like the guy has flown the coop, but they really don't have any idea. So she's going to have to spend the next episode tracking him down, I would assume, right? But I don't know how that's going to go. I just wish I knew what he was running. Like, what's he doing? Is he just trying to leave home? Like, because he knows that's not going to work, right? I don't know. And she sort of like leaves that there. She doesn't really propose, like, I assume that she's going to try and track him down, but we don't have like, we don't have a contract drawn up between her and Meg or anything. I guess it's understood. And then she goes into the journalism room again. And this is when Miss Stafford comes in and tells them all that she is going to be, that she is no longer going to be teaching at this school anymore. I'm sorry to report that today is my last day teaching at Neptune High. And she leaves, but she has a smile on her face. And this is also the moment when Veronica had walked into the room and she sees Logan standing there and just sort of stops dead and like a deer in headlights and stares at him. And he stares back at her and doesn't smile, but doesn't like, he just has that sort of like, oh shit. And as she walks out, Miss Stafford hears Veronica saying, "All right, buckaroos, we're burning daylight. We need stories. Who's got something?" And she sort of smiles to herself. And I really like that because that's the main thing about being a teacher, I understand. Not that I am a teacher, but leaving your mark on somebody so that they carry on your work in some way or carry on what you've taught them. So, yeah, I really liked that moment of satisfaction that she gets despite having been fired totally unfairly, because she, like, Veronica told some real shit. That was what happened. But okay, sure. Maggie says, Theo Rossi is mainly Italian, but also part Syrian and possibly Spanish, according to the interwebs. Okay. He won't answer questions about it, I don't think. Yeah, I don't blame him. Better to be ambiguous, then you can get cast in all kinds of roles and nobody's going to say shit about it. So that's the end of the episode. And that was 18, so I've got, 4 more this season? Guys, it's coming down. Let me take a look at what time the next episode is going on. And, because I think last time, all I said to you guys was that I was going to be doing the live watch, but I didn't specify the episode time, which is what got me into the mess today, so my apologies again for that. Next time is going to be at 3:30 on the 18th. 3:30 Central Time. And then the week after that is Christmas week, and I am not doing any commissions or any recordings of any kind on Christmas week. I'm taking the entire week off. So luxurious. And then we will be getting back to it the week after. So that will be January by then. January 1st. Woo! Woohoo! I can start the new year. So yeah, that's what's up. And this episode was really good. I really enjoyed this one a lot. There were just so many things to be shocked by. And I just want Veronica to like accept the fact that her father and mother are not going to get back together. That's just not happening, girl. And you need to let it go. Elsa style. All right, everybody. I will see you next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.